One of the hardest challenges you can complete in any Resident Evil game is the Trifecta, a true act of self-loathing which combines the 3 toughest achievements of the game into one giant depression-inducing nightmare. So naturally, to prove the insane lengths I will go to for this community, I set out to try and beat the highly feared and often thought to be impossible Trifecta in Resident Evil 7. A functionally completely different gaming experience from the RE4 remake, where this challenge was first introduced. From claustrophobic hallways and 5-star meals, to a man trying to shove a shovel up places he shouldn't, today I was going to make my life as hard as humanly possible. No healing, no item box, pistol and knife only. And most importantly, Madouse. The most stroke-inducing difficulty the game had to offer and one of the hardest of the entire franchise. And we would be doing all of this in one singular playthrough. Starting our journey as Ethan Winters, receiving a video message from his wife Mia. But instead of digital kisses, we see her panicking, saying she was sorry. With her last words, she tells us to stay away and never come looking for her. So, naturally, against her wishes, Ethan jumps into his 1970s Dodge Challenger, which was an ironic name, and makes his way to Dalvey, Louisiana to try and find her at the Baker Ranch, her last known location. Upon arrival, the only thing we were greeted by was a locked gate, an empty van, a man who appeared to be taking a piss in the woods, and... yeah. At this point, every normal person would just turn around and leave, save themselves the trouble. But apparently Ethan doesn't fall under that category. So moving on and entering the house in search of our likely dead wife, something in here gave my spidey senses the tingles. It might have been the state this building was kept in, making it feel like it was all about to crash down on us, or maybe just the sight of cockroaches eating microwave birds. Either way, we finally take the hint and head back to our car. That's not good. It seems being locked inside a building and feeling like we were in a Hell's Kitchen episode was just going to be the norm from now on.
Where's the lamb sauce? Where's the lamb sauce?
I don't know, I just got here.
Exploring our surroundings for any hint towards Mia's current location, we find a hidden lever revealing a secret passage. Left with no other option, we climb down, but it appeared the overconsumption of fast food was taking a toll on Ethan's weight as the ladder literally broke beneath him. Moving forward, which was literally the only direction left, we swim through some not so sanitary water. Crawling out of there with our expectations of something good happening at zero, we find Mia? I immediately realized that something was very wrong. She became erratic, confused, stating again and again that
Daddy's coming, we need to go.
The weird thing wasn't even her saying something like this. It was who she called Daddy, because she definitely didn't mean me, which was kinda disappointing. Nevertheless, she claims to know a way out of this place, telling me to follow her, which we reluctantly do. With her schizophrenia becoming more apparent as she pointed at a wall, stating that there had been a door, I couldn't help but comment sarcastically. Okay, come on Mia, it's a wall, a door isn't just gonna suddenly appear. Well, I'll be damned. Going up the stairs and into the bathroom, refreshing our mascara while we're at it, our ears suddenly ingest an unsettling noise. Following the trail I came from, we find getting thrown straight into our first boss fight, but left in a horrible condition from hitting the wall at 80 miles per hour, and of course not being able to tend to our wounds as the challenge's rules. We quickly became a living punching bag for this woman, as being grabbed by her once was a death sentence. Though it wasn't long until a strategy became apparent. Running out of the room forces Mia to grab and throw us back without damaging us. Furthermore, it resets her attack cooldown, giving us time to run up to her and get one slash in before running straight out of the room again, reinitiating the cycle until... Having presumably killed our beloved wife in an act of self-defense, we get a mysterious call, with the person on the other side called Zoe, telling us that there was far more going on than we realized, and that if we wanted our wife back, we had to dig deeper. Before hanging up, she adds that we had to go to the attic if we wanted to escape, as it was the only way out of here. You don't have to tell me twice. Making our way to the attic,
Ethan, it's okay.
being cut off by our wife quickly proved to have a double meaning, as our hand received a very gentle massage from her chainsaw. Now armless but not entirely harmless, this statement would quickly prove to be true as we get hold of our first real firearm.
Okay, fine.
Starting our second fight with Mia, which for the most part was pretty one-sided, except for the times it was cut wide open, of course. By keeping our distance and using the doors to our advantage, we repeatedly stunned this makeshift Leatherface until just a few bullets from running dry. Thinking Mia was really gone now, as she ate about 18 bullets, we take a minute to rest and collect ourselves. That was until we got to witness one of the best lines of the game.
Welcome to the family, son.
Waking up at a dinner table, we watch in awe as our hand gets stapled back to our body. Having been invited to a family feast wasn't as good as it sounded, as Jack tries to shove a handful of something down our throat, before trying to remove the black tooth he claimed to have spotted in our mouth. Now, oh, wait, Jack, a little more to the left. As he was ready to go for round 2, our doctor's appointment would have to be delayed, as Jack gets a call from the local police officer. Wiggling free from our restraints and exiting the room, we didn't even get a minute to rest, as we spot Jack in the distance. Staring him down the hallway like it's no one's business, he seemed to quickly have gotten wind of us. So we run for it, bringing 2 doors in between us and him to hide behind a small pallet. But instead of waiting patiently for him to leave, my curious and energetic brain risked an early peek into the kitchen, which was about the worst thing I could have done here.
Oh, hello there!
I put my 2,000 hours in Dead by Daylight to the test, baiting his swings before running past and shutting the door in his face, running towards the key, running away from the key, and bringing Jack to the dinner table forces him to blow it to pieces, allowing us to run by, pick up the key, and jump into the latch without having our next direction be changed from vertical to horizontal.
User disconnected from your channel.
Entering the first save room of the run, only to see socks that must have been hanging there for weeks. Was honestly more disgusting than I could have imagined, but our attention was quickly diverted as we saw...
Oh my god, my Shayla!
Only having taken a gaze at it, I was immediately filled with sadness as I realized that we would have to ignore our dear item box for the entirety of the game, never being able to hear the sweet creaking sound of it opening for us. But we had to move on, so we say our goodbyes, pick up the first gunpowder of the run, and exit the room, where we meet a police officer suspiciously staring us down through the window, telling him that we were being hunted by serial killers seemed to help, as he grants us access to one of the few weapons we would be using all throughout this playthrough. And with my trusty, rusty knife in hand, we opened the garage door. But it wasn't long until our delicate tea time was cut short, as the officer was cut even shorter. Taking his pistol lying on the ground to complete our self-defense set, pick up the lockpick to open the box, and take out the car key. We play it smarter, by luring the self-crowned shovel knight around the car, entering ourselves and running Jack over multiple times. Seeing the roof of my car being pried open firmly made me believe that the insurance company would not be covering the damages. Though I think damages was a bit of an understatement here. Leaving the arena with Jack trying to demonetize me again, we pick up a coin as well as the Ox statue, granting us access to the main area of this giant mansion. Standing in the main hall, looking at the door leading out of here, it turns out we needed 3 metal dog heads for the door to be opened. We are in a Resident Evil game after all. Using my detective brain after finding a loose clock pendulum, we use it on another clock without one, back at the dining room, granting us the first out of the 3 heads. Sadly, the other 2 wouldn't be as easy to get. Now, as most of you probably already know, exclusively on Madouse we have 3 cages sitting in the main hall, one containing the attack coin, one the defense coin, and one the scorpion key. Most people would use the antique coins collected so far to get the scorpion key early, saving you from having to meet Jack again on the second floor on the way to the bathroom. But there's a small problem with that. Unlike in other Resident Evil entries, this one does not allow or give you the option to discard key items, even when they have no further use. They are forced to stay in our inventory, and you can bet I was not about to give up one of my already very limited slots for this. So instead we decided to ditch the key and take the risk of collecting the statue upstairs, where more danger was lurking. On our way, as expected, we see a familiar face. Playing a ring around the bathtub with Jack proved not to be to his liking, as he forces my soul to leave my body. As previously stated, ammunition is key. We could not waste any to stand even the slightest chance at beating layer bosses and enemies. Fortunately for us, the molded creatures are kinda stupid. Just like Jack, the ultimate weakness of these things turned out to be doors. Molded are actually not coded to be able to open them, so with us taking 4 steps back from this one and shutting the door in his face, going into another room despawned it, saving us ammo as well as potential health. Picking up a lockpick from this box, instead of the safe room up ahead, we find something very unexpected. Me, the smartass that I am, not having saved because I thought, who would die to a single molded, now had to do the entire bathroom sequence all over again as a punishment for my carelessness, which would be a reoccurring theme. Back again, this time we trigger the molded, run back into the previous room to safely despawn it and enter the next safe room, which sadly did not hold anything of use for us. Which means that it was now time to enter the highly feared basement, but I had a plan. We first entered the incineration room, picking up some useful resources, as well as the dissection room key, which will spawn multiple molded. Again, with them being mentally challenged, we just close the door in their face and stare in awe as they melt away like ice cream on a hot summer day. Prying open the gate and unlocking the metal door, we see... Okay. But here's where we find the golden goose of the basement. Using the lockpick collected earlier, we open a literal treasure chest to reveal 15 enhanced bullets. This felt like a godsend for the early game. Whoever put the chest there has my deepest gratitude. Now carrying the weight and ammo of a nuclear weapon, allowing us to send our enemies straight to the afterlife, we do just that by one-shotting the crawler molded, blocking our way to the dissection room.
Do you have any ibuprofen? I got a headache.
Entering and realizing that shit was imminently about to go down, with the abundance of ammo I had, I felt pretty comfortable. We pick up the not at all suspiciously placed dog head, which leads to us being smash-kicked into the area below. Starting the fight off by putting 4 enhanced bullets into Jack's frontal lobe forces him to fall on his knees, which is where we would start the grind. Normally you are supposed to whittle his health down with the chainsaw, but with it being banned from the current rule set, we would have to make use of a different strategy. The knife is often considered to be complete trash, as let's be honest, it is.
Know your fucking place, trash!
But for this fight and challenge in general, it would prove to be the savior of the entire run. By hugging Jack close and crouching down to evade his attacks when needed, we would force him into an infinite cycle of pain by repeatedly slashing away at his skin. This strat would fall apart once he entered his last phase, but by dodging everything this guy throws at us and getting in slashes in between his attacks, after a staggering 6 hours of attempts, he converted himself into tomato soup, letting us leave with the challenge still intact. Now putting the second dog head into the door meant that there was only one left. Fortunately, it's not anywhere near as difficult to obtain. Walking up to the second floor and opening this book, we already get a hold of it. The reason we didn't take it earlier was, well, because I had a psychotic murder around my tail. Using the antique coins collected up to this point allows us to buy the legendary attack coin, which, as I explained, would boost our pistol's damage output, an effect we would come to appreciate in the very near future. Now having collected all the Exodia pieces, we win the duel and exit the main house, taking a breath of fresh air after having been forced to smell mold for 8 hours straight.
This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would.
Reaching the trailer, we get another call from Zoe, telling us that we had to make our way to the old house to collect a so-called D-series arm, which she claimed she needed to make a serum to cure hers and Mia's disease. Only when cured would she show us the way out of here. What concerned me though wasn't the fact she needed an arm to make a cure, but rather the fact she claimed to already be in possession of the second needed ingredient, which was a whole ass head.
What?
Putting my future concerns of injecting an arm and a head straight into my wife's bloodstream aside, we carry on and enter the old house, which gave shelter to every kind of enemy imaginable, from big bugs to small bugs, spiders and molded. They were all on the menu, but none were safe from me wielding my knife around like a maniac. We first use our knife to swat the spiders from the metal cabinet, granting us an enhanced chem fluid, after which we go out the back to collect a much needed and appreciated backpack, increasing our inventory by a whole 4 slots. Back at the old house we find a safe spot which allowed us to take the nest out without any interference of the nuisances guarding it. Collecting the statue, we unexpectedly are greeted by Mia, who before she could explain anything about the whole trying to gut me alive thing, got kidnapped by Lucas. We were powerless and could only watch as he dragged her out of the room, and at that moment I was determined to find him, as no one was allowed to touch my wife like that. Going back, trying to place the statue on the pedestal proved to be a different story, as Margaret was now actively roaming around, ready to send us back to the lobby at the earliest convenience. But with the help of some careful stealthing, we sneaked past, used the statue and entered the crawl space, where we were able to pick up the crank, which from now on was also cursed to stay on our inventory. Now having to backtrack to the outside area again, using the crank gave us access to the crow key, which meant that another slot was now gone. But with the key in hands, we walked to the door containing the supposed arm, where...
I told you to stay out of here!
Feeling like I was experiencing deja vu while trying to take down Margaret, we were being swarmed and pestered with bugs, which did overwhelm us at times, leading to some regrettable deaths. But with some enhanced bullets shot into her face, she very quickly falls down the same hole she threw us in. How poetic. Finally opening the door, only to find that the preceding one was also locked, quickly drained my patience. Seeing that it used a weight mechanism using a lamp gave me hope though, as Margaret also had one. So I'll quickly go grab it. Seeing that 4-legged demon crawl away through the tunnels was enough to make anyone shit their pants, but with no other choice than to follow her to get into possession of the lamp, we enter the greenhouse, where before we pick a fight we are not prepared for, find something that had the possibility of making the upcoming boss fight that much more manageable, and it came in the form of the broken handgun. This handgun is called the M19 and would be the core weapon for almost the entire rest of the playthrough, surpassing our current weapon, the G17, in almost every way. With a much higher damage output at the measly cost of a smaller magazine was a trade I was more than willing to make. Combining it with the repair kit hidden just outside the mansion gave us full permission to use this thing in all its beauty. But even with our newfound power, entering the arena and trying to somewhat mentally prepare for the war of attrition that was about to go down in here, hell was an understatement and couldn't come close to doing this fight justice, for just how time-consuming, unforgiving and soul-crushingly difficult it was. It took me 3 days of grinding for 3 hours a day to be able to figure out a relatively consistent strategy, and even then, it was total dog shit. Thankfully we had many enhanced bullets saved up to this point. Doing some math, it was confirmed to be possible to beat her without having to resort to the knife, which was kind of calming, but only if we hit almost every single bullet into her weak spot. Before starting the fight, we pick up another 5 bullets and knife the cabinet for another enhanced chem fluid. Triggering Margaret at the window and quickly running back allows us to get a full magazine of enhanced bullets shot into her face. From here we use every possible chance to fill her up with lead, trying to not eat a bitch slap along the way. In any case, you might think, why are you shooting at her head? Isn't her exact the weak point? Hush now, child. Let me explain. You wouldn't be entirely wrong in assuming that to be her weak spot, but it's a little more complicated. In the beginning, her head is actually the weak spot, giving a nice bit of extra damage. That is until we put enough bullets into her for the exec to pop open and lose its protective layer. Once that happens, the weak spot switches, and now the exec becomes the new one. But after this relatively consistent beginning bullet fire, everything changes for the absolute worse. She now gets the ability to scurry off into the darkness and place bug nests in the arena. If we aren't quick enough to shoot and stop her from doing so, then it would be an instant reset, as we had no way of defending ourselves against the bug swarms. You have no idea how often I lost like this. The game forced me to learn every single spot where she could place her little sack of delight, with some extremely hidden ones that took multiple attempts to figure the location of out. After 7 hours of training, we managed to almost get completely rid of that problem. Now keeping distance is key, especially when she gets on all fours, which is literal nightmare fuel. From here we shoot her head to get a potential stun in and just blast the rest of our bullets into her sack. After a 20-minute long fight and us running towards our very last bullets, it finally happened. Knowing that I would never have to deal with her or her bugs again was more than just a great feeling. We pick up the lantern as well as the rest of the ammo in the arena, leaving us with a sizable restock of ammunition, and opened the locked door hiding the arm. Entering what looked to be the Molded's playground, part of me now realized why this area had remained locked. Upon discovering a hidden room behind a wall, we are rewarded with the D-Series arm, which was very delicately removed from whoever this person was. Trying to make our way back proved to almost be difficult, as we were having none of this shit, sprinting past every Molded in a way and actually making it out without a scratch. Receiving another call from Zoe, who must have set up cameras around these parts, as she knows we are in possession of the arm, asked us to meet her in the trailer, where she would be waiting for us. Agreeing without reading the small printed terms and conditions proved to have consequences, as upon our arrival the only thing we get is a call from vitamin D deprived Lucas Baker, telling us that if we wanted to see Zoe and Mia, we would have to participate in an activity he had planned and set up for us. By that he means his wannabe Saw games.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
But to partake in these activities we would need 2 keycards, which he had hidden back inside of the mansion. The only problem was that both of them were locked behind the snake key doors, which would be pretty difficult to open without the snake key. But Lucas, being the kind person he is, gives us a hint to where it's hidden. That's a bit more than just a hint, but fine by me. Now having to run an entire marathon because the scorpion door was one that would remain locked. Reaching the basement we find that it was awfully quiet. No Molded could be seen anywhere, and I knew that this was a bad sign, but to lighten the mood, we do meet Granny down here. Huh, I wonder how she didn't get eaten by now.
Where are you?
Nope.
Running towards the dissection room, a crawler Molded makes his debut. But with us not having any enhanced bullets, we instead do a 180, sprinting back to safety faster than Usain Bolt. Barely making it, despawned the little shit, allowing us to... Key in hand, we run past the Molded thinking he was harmless, and... On the next one I attempted to stun the Molded with the hanging bag, because why else would it be hanging there? Yeah, he wasn't really impressed by that. We managed to make it through the door and just speedrun our way out of there, but the game seemed to have other plans, as it throws in one more crawler Molded to ruin our day. With the key in hand and back in the main hall, we juke some scythe Molded, allowing us to open both snake key doors. Entering the attic first, another goodie is presented to us, in the form of another backpack, which came at just the right time. Discovering a secret passage under the bed allows us to pick up the first keycard, as well as some very useful resources. After circling around the building, we pick up a tape as well as the second keycard, which would allow us to enter Lucas's secret playground.
I don't think so.
Get shit on.
Before entering, we play the happy birthday tape and find ourselves playing as Clancy trying to survive a deadly escape room.
This short? Well, you can't fake this.
But in short, after solving some puzzles and reaching arms deep into liquid shit,
What do I do?
Clancy puts up a candle in the cake before hearing it start to tick. Now any normal human would run away, but not Clancy. He's not the brightest. And that stupidity very quickly got him trapped in a barbecue. And sadly for him, he wasn't the one standing on a grill. Instead he would be playing the role of the meat cooked medium rare.
Happy birthday!
Now opening the keycard door, Lucas holds a 10-minute speech, which basically boils down to,
You ain't gonna find a goddamn thing, Ethan.
okay.
Fuck!
Lucas, being the prankster he is, wasn't gonna make it easy for us, having littered the entire area with explosive boxes and tripwires. Thankfully for us, all of them spawned in the same scripted locations, meaning that with the knowledge I already had of this game, they could be easily avoided. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. Sneaking through the rest of this cursed establishment, we find another gunpowder, helping us to make more enhanced bullets before meeting Lucas at the door requiring a password. But it seemed his dementia started to kick in as he forgot the code, tasking us to just try any combination. Following his orders triggers what has to be one of the slowest and saddest traps I have ever laid my eyes upon. Going through the newly opened up hallway, which normally houses one of the most annoying crawler moldeds of the game. But with a neat little trick I found out all by myself, looking into the direction he would spawn from while he would spawn, prevents him from spawning altogether, letting us enter this room in peace and pick up an antique coin. We exit just to find 2 more crawler moldeds blocking our way. But with a neat little trick, by swinging our knife while running, we can get a small but needed speed boost to make it past them without being hit. Finally able to take a breather in the safe room and taking the time to rearrange ourselves as well as our dreadful inventory. After making myself a hot chocolate and just enjoying the vibe this room gave off, all good things had to come to an end as we leave behind the safety this room represented to enter the chaos waiting for us outside, as now we would have to face one of the most unexpectedly difficult fights of this challenge. As a little extra from the Madouse difficulty, we get a 1+1 discount on a fat molded, gifting us a second nuisance to deal with. This extra proved to be one of the worst things that could have happened as we died here. A lot. Either by receiving a fresh acid shower or by being body slammed into my next life. But after relentless attempts of spamming all the enhanced bullets we had into them, hoping for a crit that would instantly pop their heads off, they both dropped down, allowing us to take the elevator out of here. We find the correct code for the puzzle room door on who I could only assume to be Clancy. Having used the code but not being able to enter sparked my interest, as in a totally unexpected twist, we were told we could not participate in this escape room without depositing all our items in the inventory box. But wait, does that mean we failed the challenge? Well, no, actually. See, the achievement Resource Manager doesn't completely disable us from using the item box. It actually allows us to open it 3 times throughout the playthrough. But don't let yourself be fooled, as you are forced by the game at 3 specific points to open it, to be able to progress. Now joining the fun, as you already saw, we take a few shortcuts, putting in the correct code and beating the minigame in like 20 seconds. Now putting the candle into the cake, Ethan seems to have just as many brain cells as Clancy, as he does not move and just take the explosion straight to the face. Like he didn't see in the tape what would happen. Surviving with Lucas now trying to unalive Bombers fails miserably, as we spot his weakness of poorly renovating rooms by ripping off a piece of wood, revealing free space for us to blow up his own wall. letting us exit this twisted playhouse and regain all the items we needed going forward, and leaving the rest in there to rot. Arm and head in hand, viewing the monitor reveals that Zoe and Mia were still being kept hostage in the boathouse. Fortunately for us, Zoe tells us that it lies just outside the room and across the monster-infested pier. Man, what I do for these women, it's actually insane. Speedrunning our way across the pier worked out, knowing that we were about to face a monster capable of putting us into life support in one hit no matter what. We just rolled with it. Opening the last locked box of the playthrough with the lockpick we had taken with us grants us 2 strong chem fluids, which we use to craft some more ammunition, preparing for the upcoming battle. At least recovering a small bit from the ammo deficit we suffered from the previous fight. Freeing Zoe from her restraints, we hand over both the arm and the head for her to create a supposed serum. Cutting free Mia in the meantime, we start to hear a deep rumbling. Panicked, we take the 2 syringes from Zoe, which we would use once outside the building. But that moment would have to wait, as a giant mutated Jack came crashing through the wall, grabbing and throwing us into the arena, apparently out to seek revenge for us converting him into soup and teabagging on his lifeless torso. But the real question going into this fight was, would the bullets we had collected and saved up to this point be enough? Well, absolutely fucking not. In fact, it wasn't even close, as even Jack's small eyes take full magazines of enhanced bullets to be taken out.
That's not good.
This is getting old, Jack.
Combine that with every single attack bringing us 1 foot into the grave, it was clear that we had to find some elite strategies to even stand a chance of taking him down for the final time. The first solution we had to come up with was how to avoid the initial swipe Jack does across the top floor. Trying to run towards the ladder as fast as possible proved futile, as we still get a smack on the cheeks trying to run away. The same happened when we tried hugging him as close as possible. Against all logic, there is a way to completely avoid all damage here, and it's by running straight into his attack. My guess would be that his swipe barely goes over our head, allowing us to jump down and truly start the fight. Realizing that bullets were not enough, through some persistent trial and error, a crucial weakness started appearing in Jack's patterns, and you can bet that I was about to abuse the living shit out of it. Sticking close to Jack's left or right side and positioning ourselves just behind his arms, like we were trying to give him the hug his mother denied him, gives us a spot of complete invulnerability, as Jack is not able to move his dump truck fast enough to keep up, negating him from ever attacking us in this state. Chipping away at his health with our handgun, we want to at least once pop an eye while he is on the top floor, as it will force him to come crashing down on his back, revealing the extremely hard to hit eye located on the bottom of his tail. Keeping the cycle up for such an extremely long time that it caused my wrists to riddle in pain. An incredible amount of deaths later, he falls. Only to come back again and start the final phase, which would be no problem. Yeah, I didn't quite realize that you could actually dodge his attacks here, costing me precious hours that I will never get back. Dealing damage after each of his attacks while trying to not be slammed into the ground grants us the sweet victory we were yearning for. Giving Jack the coup de grace by banishing him from this world with the serum. Now only holding 1, we would have to make a tough decision. Well, maybe it wasn't that tough of a decision. Leaving Zoe behind for her to be saved in the DLC instead, sitting in the boat with Mia, I finally wanted some answers. I wanted to know why she came to Louisiana, why did she come all the way out here. I wanted to know the real reason she told me to stay away. She reacted defensively and kind of confused to all these questions, like she didn't know herself what was going on. Before we could get any answers out of her, we get hijacked by moldy tentacles, denying our chances of uncovering the truth, as well as our plans of getting out of here. Finding ourselves now in the role of Mia herself, trying to save Ethan from ending like the deputy back in the mansion, making our way through the dark yet familiar hallways of the wreckage. Getting an epileptic seizure seemed to be the norm, as along the way we see glimpses of the past. We find a girl called Evelyn telling us to remember. Not knowing what she was talking about, she guides us into a room with a tape player, telling us that it would provide all the answers we were looking for. We find ourselves in the past as Mia trying to make her way through the ship, only holding a knife in her hands she found in the kitchen, searching for a way to the emergency boats. Trying to follow Evelyn proved easier said than done, as no matter where you looked, moldeds appeared everywhere to try and protect her. To make it pass, we use and abuse every trick in the book. Baiting attacks, closing doors, and sprinting past the rest was crucial. Making it through, Evelyn tells us the truth. In reality, Mia's job was to keep Evelyn contained, but on the last trip to perform some tests, something went wrong. She didn't want Mia to leave again, and so she made sure she would stay with her forever. With Evelyn asking Mia if she could be her mother, Mia, completely overwhelmed with emotions, answered,
No, Evie. We can't be a family. We were never a family. We will never be a family.
Mia couldn't stay with her, she had to find her husband and save him. Wandering around the ship, we find a still functioning computer. Through the cameras we see Ethan, covered in mold on the lowest level. Exploring our surroundings, we find an elevator, exactly what we needed to get out of here. Getting the first part to repair the elevator was easy enough, as we just dropped down, picking up a fuse. That's pretty much it. Getting back into the elevator, the second part was trickier, as we have to pull the cables out of someone's life support system. As a fat molded appeared behind us, ready to make us pay, but with it having the same agility of a turtle shell, we juke it and run past back to the elevator, allowing us to find the hibernating Ethan, wrapped in a cocoon of mold, who was having his own visions altogether. He sees Jack, still connected with the mold he was once infected with, tells us that everything was Evelyn's fault. When the ship crashed, they found and cared for her. All she did in return was to transform them into bloodthirsty killers. Jack knows it was too late for them and asks us to free his family from the curse that was laid upon them. Yeah, sure. Being freed and once again taking control of him as a character, we move on and towards the mines. Here we have our third and last force box usage of the game. Entering the elevator to the mines was easier said than done. Barely managing to press the button before they all come crashing down and the doors brings us deeper below, where we bait those stupid things into the tripwires and make a run past the rest, which more than surprisingly worked out. Randomly stumbling across the room that would create a toxin needed to take Evelyn out of the race, we used the opportunity with only one goal in mind. Now arriving at the area I like to call the mass molded breakdown. To prove this name right, masses of molded spawn left and right. Using a safe spot and all the ammunition available to us to safely take them out, we move on, relentlessly destroying everything that dared to stand in our way, picking up the last resources of the run along the way. This fat molded's attempts at trying to block our path to victory was futile, as Ethan, being covered in olive oil, manages to barely slip past. Little did I know he had friends that were more than ready to finish the job, as a unique giant fat molded, as well as a normal one, appear as the last line of defense. I decided that enough was enough. If I couldn't sneak my way past, then I would brute force it. Applying this new mindset, we used 2 full sets of enhanced bullets to carry out 2 forced amputations on these guys' legs, disabling them from further forcing resets for the cost of permanently crippling them. Now on the final stretch, Ethan starts experiencing hallucinations, but contrary to what I believed, he is not actually schizophrenic. It was all Evelyn's doing. It was all fake. Nothing could hurt us. Showing her the necrotoxin like Batman holding kryptonite in Superman's face, she retreats up into the attic. We find her, ready to put an end to this madness. And oh boy, I hope that's enough ammunition. Being kicked back again and again, we barely make it up to Evelyn.
Stop! No! No, no, no!
Injecting her with the toxin, she reveals herself to be the old lady we met all throughout Dimension, but there was no time for flashbacks as the toxin immediately set in, melting her away like the kinetic sand I played with in my childhood. Thinking it was finally over, Evelyn decided that now was the perfect moment to use her plot armor, appearing as a giant face moving towards us. This was the final showdown. Oh wow, that's not good. So, what now? Well, if the pistol wasn't enough to finish the job, then someone else would have to. Someone we relied the whole run on. The knife. Why is nothing happening? Why is the knife not doing any damage? What is happening? As it turned out, the fight was rigged from the start. After some online research, I got the answer I was dreading to hear. The knife was bugged, specifically for this final fight. For some reason, Mia's knife, which has a longer range and deals more damage, is glitched in the final fight and is not coded to deal damage to Evelyn. So, what now? Was it over? No! Analyzing my surroundings, thinking there had to be something I was missing. I found it. Hidden in the corner of the room were 5 enhanced bullets. Just what we needed. Now entering the second phase with the knife still bugged, I shot Evelyn for the final time. And... I died? Again? It doesn't matter. I know I can do it. We didn't make it so far just to falter at the end. Trying again, saving every bullet I could. We this time entered the second phase with 5 enhanced bullets. Come on, this needs to be enough. Down to our last bullet, with nothing else to do. We pull the trigger, and... Oh my god! Finally! With the last bullet, picking up the Albert 01, we finally finish off Evelyn, putting her down for good and ending this nightmare once and for all. Being rescued by Chris Redfield meant only one thing. It was finally over. We made it through this madhouse under the hardest circumstances, fought impossible by others, and now it was time for me and Mia to bathe in our glorious victory. Especially Mia, this woman was reeking. So, can you beat the Trifecta challenge of Resident Evil 7 on the madhouse difficulty? Yes, you can. If only barely. I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, chances are you did. Or you just fell asleep on the couch, but whatever the case may be, thank you for watching, and I'll hope to see you next time.